Welcome to the 4th episode of Coffee with Braz, brought to you by the Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation. Love the game. This week, we'll be talking with my skipper, Steph Chiocci. I want you to meet my captain, Steph Chiocci, our speedy Italian that plays on the wing. Steph is a player that loves to talk up how much time she spends in the gym, but we all question it, and we all know she spends way more time at the park with Bentley. One thing I love about Steph is she's always trying to make this team laugh and have fun. She's the classic captain. Get ready for this episode. Meet my captain, Steph. Thank you, Steph, for coming on the Coffee with Braz podcast.
Thanks, Brazzy. I'm actually stoked to get a coffee with Braz. That's awesome.
Are you serious? You're the captain?
No, but I didn't realise we actually got a coffee on Coffee with Braz.
Yeah, listen, I'm putting the money. You're definitely going to get a bill soon, but maybe you can pay for the whole teams because you're the captain.
I do like my coffee, so I'd happily do that for people. Why not?
And let's talk about your coffee, because I was when you sent it to me, I was like, yep, all right, this is pretty normal. But then I had to order it, and I was so uncomfortable. I was saying, okay, can I please have a latte with half a sugar?
What part was awkward, the sugar or the actual fact of full cream? Well, I figure...
No, I'm all about full cream, Steph.
Okay, good. All about full cream.
You're Italian, I
cow's
expect
milk,
that.
we understand. Well, apparently I'm lactose intolerant, so I shouldn't be having it.
I think I am too.
Yeah. And I usually have almond milk. Well, I was having almond milk, but I just didn't like the taste. So
it just ruins
coffee.
And
I love coffee, so I'd rather face the consequences. But no, half a sugar, like they say you shouldn't have sugar, and people say I'm sweet enough, but I got half a sugar anyway. I like it.
So at home, do you pull out your sugar? Do you get the teaspoon and actually measure it like that?
I'm not like the Irish household and Ruby where they measure everything, but I do get the teaspoon out and I'll just really, really flat. That's technically half.
Oh, so it's still a teaspoon?
Yeah.
Mate, that is a teaspoon. That is not half.
It's really flat. A teaspoon with...
If you came to my house and said half, I would literally put it up and then pour half out. I'd be so awkward.
Look, I'm not that diligent with it. I don't really care, but it does sound good.
No, I love that. But I'm glad you actually have coffee, because
Thank you.
We had Ebony last week and she had decaf, so that actually did throw me.
That's odd. That's really odd, but doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't at all, does it?
To be honest. Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about your background. You're Italian. I am Italian. Well, not really. My mum is Italian, but I pretend.
You're Italian.
Mate, I look Aussie. At least you look like you're Italian.
Yeah,
I'm in the sun and I go red and then I blister. You just brown up. I'm the whitest Italian you know.
We all know this is fake tan, number one. Number two, it takes a lot of effort for me to get brown. But no, I think I'm the same. I'm quite pale.
You're not, but whatever. Let's just
we'll
move on
go
there.
with
But so you're Italian, you go to your nonnas for dinner, the whole family gets together. So you've got the classic Italian family, which I love. But one thing I love, and I can imagine your dad being like this, that women just don't play football. Football is for the men. So how did you get into footy?
Well, growing up, it was definitely the case. It was just watching the boys play. But my family love Carlton. I think it's well documented. And I was a member from the age of 2 at the Carlton Footy Club. We go every week, sit in the same spot, which is no longer there. So they're, I suppose, newish facilities down opposite the Legend Stand. There was these green seats and we sat.
Is that now the Icon Stadium?
Yeah, Icon Park. Yeah. Okay. So that stadium around the side.
Yeah, this is me not being from Melbourne, having no idea.
And we used to sit in the same green seats in the same row, either the front, if we got there early enough on the fence, watching the reserves, or row 2 or row 3, nonno, zia, zio, cousins, brothers, dad, mum every now and then, and just cheer on the Blues.
How many people are we talking?
I reckon we were at the last ever game played there. There was about 20 of us somehow. It was awesome. Used to run on the field after the game, kick the footy around.
Wasn't that the best kick to kick?
Loved it. Yeah, loved it. Just dodging balls everywhere. I used to race to the centre so you could get to the centre circle first. Pretty sure my brother took some grass on the last ever game. I don't know what he did with it, but took some grass as a memorabilia. But yeah,
still under his pillow.
Mad Carlton supporters. And that's why I love playing at Icon Park. It reminds me of my nonno every time.
So when did you ask? Were you at, obviously you go to the game, so were you going, Dad, I want to play footy?
It's funny.
Or did you never think because it was blokes?
Never ever thought I could play. Didn't know there was a league. And you remember I was only young, but then it got into my teenage years and we'd kick the footy before the game. Me and 5, 6 boys kicking the footy around, and Dad would be like, gee, if you were a bloke, you'd get drafted. And I remember him saying it, and he still says it. And like people would come up to him and be like, gee, she's skillful. But it was never, like I didn't know female footy existed. I don't think it did then. And then it wasn't until...
It was just a badge of honour that you could kick with the boys and keep up.
Yeah, that's it. And it wasn't until I was like 15, 16, I'd heard of Diamond Creek Women's Football Club, or football team at the time. And I was like, gee, there's women's footy out there. Dad, can I play? Mum, can I play? Nah, too little, too skinny. You'll get broken. And to be fair, they were probably right. Like the people running around back then, my goodness. So I played school footy and just loved it. Like, and I had an athletics background, so I just used, I suppose, my pace on the outside just to get around people. And kept putting my case forward. But like, no, you're just going to break in half. And it wasn't until I was in year 12, so I was 17, and I was working at Rebel Sport with a girl called Megan, who I think she was captain of Diamond Creek at the time. She's like, just come on down. And I knew her from athletics as well. She'd come on down. Rob, to my dad, she'll be right, we'll look after her. And I went down a training session and didn't look back. And they said, yeah, you can play. So there was my year 12 gone. Because you know what it's like when you join a footy team or any sort of sporting club, you're just so invested. You want to spend all your time there.
That's all you think about.
That's all you think about.
Yeah.
And like, those are the days where you'd play a game and then go over to the local pub.
Yeah.
You know,
at 17.
Well, yeah, obviously, for a meal, obviously, but you know, like, and then you're just immersed in this footy culture, and I absolutely loved it. And yeah, that was that.
And I love that you have like a different sense, like how you're now in a team and you love it, even though that you went to every single Carlton game, so you already knew what footy was like, but then playing, it's still such a different experience.
Completely different. And like my idols, you know, Andy McKay, who's now, you know, his position at Carlton, I think he's still on the board there, whatever he is, like he was my idol. I used to watch Chris Judd play. I used to watch Cade Simpson, you know, loved how he played, and they were the guys I looked up to. And then I start playing Diamond Creek, and I'm like, okay, we make a bit of a name for ourselves now as women. But back then there was no talk of a national league. You had state competitions where you got to play with the best of the best. So played with like Daisy Pearce, Katie Brennan eventually, girls like that. Shan McFerrin, who probably, you know, the younger girls wouldn't have heard of, but she was a star. She won like 3 or 4 league best and fairest. Debbie Lee, all these names. And yeah, fast forward however many years, and here we are.
Here we are.
Pretty crazy.
That still cracks me up that you're a Carlton supporter and you're playing for Collingwood. Like, I just love that. Like, it's funny how, and I guess this is AFL, you don't get a choice where you get to go. Where what I'm used to is netball. You can have every single team in the league offer you a spot, and I still get to choose. So the fact you don't have a choice where you go still blows my mind. Now, I did a bit of research and I watched a YouTube thing that I just wrote your name in YouTube, and there was a little package of you talking about how when you did go to the games, like you just talked about, you were on the train and you had to go Vic Park and, you know, your parents being that passionate and you nonna, and then you had to hold your breath past that stadium. Like, what was that like? And how, like, we'll get to it a bit later, you getting drafted here, but what was it like doing that? And then now, I guess, your parents barracking for us. Like,
it's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you still follow Carlton?
Oh, gosh. Braz.
It's okay.
That's a really tough question. I do follow in terms of I keep a keen eye on them. I'll watch their games, and I'm still really passionate about how the boys go. Yeah. Make that very, very clear. I think when you grow up, you know, loving a team and it's ingrained in you from, you know, a very young age, you know, it's very hard to just switch that off. Like, it's in my heart and it's in my blood and it reminds me of my family. But yeah, I take a keen interest in how they go. I'm just not very vocal with it. But yeah, we did. We used to catch the Hurstbridge line from Eltham all the way into the MCG. And when we went past Vic Park, Dad, no, hold your breath. And we go, we weren't allowed to breathe in the air of Collingwood because it was, you know, I don't know, not nice air. Yeah, so yeah, and it's all I knew. Like, it was just, you didn't like Collingwood. You hated Collingwood.
And I know this isn't, like, this podcast isn't about me, it's about you. But that's one thing I didn't know coming to Collingwood is that people just didn't like Collingwood or they loved you. There was one or the other. And hearing that story, like being from Melbourne, it just cracks me up because, you know, being someone from New South Wales, rugby league was the religion. We're down here, it's definitely AFL. So yeah, I absolutely love that. Now you talked about Diamond Creek, and it's the team you first played for. what you didn't mention is that in your first year, I've got my stats here. You won a premiership. You got MVP of the game.
Yeah.
Best and fairest.
Best on ground. MVP is a very netball
of
term.
the game. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Mate, I'm still learning. So what's it called?
Oh, best on ground. Yeah.
Best on ground for that.
Yep.
And then you got best first year player in the league.
Yeah, or the region, I think it was.
Yeah.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Northwest, I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah.
That's like, mate, that's like the best year you
It was a
could
good
have.
debut. Yeah, I loved it.
How was your second year?
Yeah, probably not as good. No, we were playing, I think, in the Northwest Division back then. It was called the VWFL. And yeah, we were quite dominant and we had some really good battles. We ended up winning the premiership, which was awesome. But then the next year we got bumped up to like the Premier Division and we got absolutely flogged. Like, I mean, Brazill, we were losing by 90 plus almost every week. So yeah, that was a real shock to the system, but just love playing, like no expectations. You sort of run around with some freedom. Like I said, they become like a second family. I just loved being there. Like Diamond Creek is so special to me. And I reckon once I retire, I might actually head back down there. You see ex-players like Shay Audley, Laura Corrigan have just signed back there, girls who played AFL and have gone back to Dymo, and I think I might do the same. So, yeah, just love it.
You're ever going to retire from
I know.
Collingwood,
I might do a
please.
C-bomb and, Cecilia McIntosh, probably shouldn't say C-bomb, and played on 38, but who knows?
Yeah, well, you keep going.
Oh,
I probably won't
yeah,
do that.
body's feeling good, yep.
Well, you're looking good out there, so that's a good thing. So when, like, you know, I guess you're playing AFL, AFLW doesn't exist yet. How old were you when the first draft happened where they only selected the 40 and it was Bulldogs versus Melbourne?
Yeah, the exhibition series. That was 2013, so I was probably about 21, 22. No, hold on, I don't know how old I am.
You're still 17.
23, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, whatever I was, early 20s.
Yeah.
And there was sort of rumours about this sort of AFLW thing happening, and then there was rumours about an exhibition series. And I remember talking to Debbie Lee, who was associated with the Bulldogs or Melbourne at the time, one of the two. And she's like, yeah, we're going to have a draft. We're going to have a draft, and there's going to be two teams, Melbourne and Bulldogs, who've both been big supporters of women's footy. And they're going to go 1 for 1 on the selection, and then we're going to play a game. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And yeah.
So you had to nominate for a draft. Like like it all happened like it still does now.
Yeah, I think it was nominate. Yeah, and you just threw your hat in the ring, and we end up having a draft at the MCG, and the rest was history.
And so, you know, like there's 40 players picked, which is nothing. Like that's not even two teams now. Like we have 30 in each team.
In each squad,
That's, unbelievable to one, even make the 40. But two, you had Daisy Pearce picked at pick 1, who is probably the most loved AFLW player in our league, and has just, skyrocketed in media, which is great for her. And then you were picked second.
Yeah, what were they thinking?
No, that's unreal. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, at the time, I think I was a little bit surprised, to be honest. And like you mentioned Daisy Pearce, like for me, she is the best AFLW footballer I've seen play and played against. So she played for Darebin. So Diamond Creek, Darebin have a fierce rivalry. We played in, I think, 7 grand finals against them, 1-1. So that's how well we're going. But so it was coming off that 2012 grand final where we pipped them and had a pretty good year that year as well. I think my form was pretty good leading into that, and Peter Searle took me with pick 2, which I'm still surprised, to be honest. But it was pretty humbling to go straight after Daisy, that's for sure.
And what was it like being in that, I guess, 40 and feeling like there was this movement in women's sport? Like I know netball had already had its own little thing, but like I played footy growing up, but I never believed it would happen. And if it did, it wouldn't be in my lifetime where I'd get to play. Did you understand, I guess, how powerful it was to be in that 40 and play those exhibition matches?
No, and still to this day, like even trying to reminisce now and think about what happened on the night and how it felt. Like, yes, I know it was exciting, but really didn't know what it meant. We knew that we're going to play a game. One game, Bulldogs versus Melbourne, put female footy on the map a little bit, but we didn't know where it was going after that. There was no talk of AFLW or a national league until a little bit later. So it was great, but we didn't really know what it meant, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Did that talk happen pretty much straight after that game? Because I wasn't in the footy world then, but I remember watching the game on TV thinking like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
Did did you guys then think, okay, this is going to move pretty quickly?
No. Well, not from my point of view. I had no idea what was going on, to be honest. We knew that it was sort of the foundation teams, those, like I said before, the Bulldogs and Melbourne, who invested in women's football and programs and things like that, but we didn't know that it would skyrocket or sort of start the ball rolling for a national league. And it would have been, I dare say it's probably a couple of years later where they went, hang on a second, we should get a national league. And that's when they started talking about it for 2020.
Yeah.
So they're like, right, National League by 2020. And I was thinking, bugger, I'm going to be bloody old by then.
Yeah.
And then that soon evolved to let's bring it forward to 2017.
And aren't we glad?
And aren't we glad it did? Oh, my goodness. So, and obviously there was a few more exhibition games after that. So, yeah.
And loved the doggies?
Love the doggies. Great footy club. Just your Aussie spirited, community footy club, I felt really welcome there. Great club, really good people. Obviously invested in our game from years ago. So yeah, I love playing there. It was good fun.
And so I guess being it was 3 years, I'm pretty sure.
3 or 4, yeah.
Was there just a training camp, or was training like a weekly thing?
Nah, training camp. Yeah, it was literally...
Because obviously it's not just from Melbourne. You have interstate players coming in.
It was literally we had in the past, prior to 2012, was like high performance academies. So if you're picked in the All-Australian squad or team in those state carnivals, you'd go into an academy and we'd catch up once a year and, it might be it was usually based here and have a camp. But this was not too dissimilar. We were told this is when your game is. You're expected in Melbourne, Victoria on these dates. You had a little camp, you trained twice as a team, and then you played. That was pretty much it. And the team sort of changed over the years as well. I ended up playing with Brazill when she threw her hat in the ring and to play footy after soccer. So we picked her up in the draft.
She went to
the Dogs.
She went to Dogs.
Yeah, she went to the Dogs. So she, I think that was 2 or 3 years after.
Yeah.
The first ever game. So yeah, the team sort of chopped and changed. Some girls who were playing at Melbourne end up at the Dogs. Some who were at the Dogs end up at Melbourne, and yeah, because you had to keep a core 6 after the first season. Yeah, it was all a bit weird, really. Which is
crazy when you're saying that, because I'm thinking, okay, so it wasn't really professional at all, but it was just to showcase that women do play football, really, because in an elite world, you can't just do a once a month training session together. So It's amazing that you guys had that and were still able to execute a game plan or just, I guess, play as a team.
Yep.
And then 3 or 4 years later, you've got the actual draft.
Yep.
And it's no longer 2 teams.
No.
There's teams that don't even have a team trying to get AFLW teams. There was so much talk about it. And I know, just being on the netball side, we were thinking, how is this happening? As a netballer, we've been training since we were I don't know, you start net set, go at 6, and then you get into the, I guess, profession. It starts getting more elite at 13, and then you're representative. You go through all underage state teams.
Pathway.
Yeah, you're starting gym at 16. So your body is conditioned by the time you're, I guess, in an elite side. And you guys have gone from Saturday footy, which you just talked about, the best thing was going to a pub afterwards.
100%. Yeah.
Into these. So as a netballer, I'm thinking, one, I'm jealous because I really want to play.
You would have loved it.
But I guess seeing other girls' reactions, it was just how is this even possible?
Yeah.
It was more of a jealousy thing and more angry, because why have we had to work our whole life to get to this spot and you guys are just walking in? So from being in it, it was quite funny. It was like netball versus footy.
Yeah.
Where now, I guess, being at the one club, the netball girls seeing how hard you guys train, you're just one of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool to see women supporting women and athletes supporting athletes, because at the start, I couldn't say that was going to happen.
No, and it's even coming into our first year here, which I'm sure we'll touch on, but not having, I don't think we had really any elite female role models in our team. And like you said, we came from playing Saturday, 2 o'clock, going to the pub after, probably having a drink, getting home late, go to our full-time jobs, training twice a week, to then, here you are, here's your conditioning program, here's your gym program. It's hard to believe, but I didn't really lift many weights growing up, Bazzy.
What are you talking about? Look at those arms.
So then adapting to that, and big whirlwind. So I can appreciate why the netballers and, people like that looked at us going, well, what's going on here?
Yeah, but and credit to the AFLW girls, that's flipped. You know, our netball girls come to our games and love it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's great and just shows where we've come from as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I remember the first year you guys would be in gym and we'd be on the court, and there was a few players that I don't think lifted a weight. Like we're just walking around talking.
I was probably one of them, to be honest.
No, you weren't. But and you guys were even watching the netball training, going, "Whoa, like this is intense."
Sure. Yeah.
Like, so I love where we're at now because you can't. There's no real difference, and the fact we're only in the 5th year blows my mind.
Yeah, it's really evolved, hasn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. So you come to Collingwood. But before you're at our club, it's 2016.
Yeah, yep.
And you get, I think you're obviously assuming that you're going to Bulldogs because you've been there for so long. You were the captain at the time. And I wasn't there, but I've seen footage of you and they've just got the camera like in your face, in your parents' face at the draft. Was that intimidating? Were you thinking this is like, oh my God, what if I don't get picked up?
Yeah, it was interesting because that was a documentary I did with Ange Pipos and Nicole Minchin, who it was a league of her own, which was awesome. They sort of followed my journey after the Bulldogs and to draft day. And I'd had discussions with Carlton, Collingwood, Bulldogs. Yeah, they were the main three. And all of them sort of said, look, if you're there with our second pick, we'll take you.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was Collingwood, Bulldogs and Carlton. And, of course, being a Carlton supporter, it was a part of me that wanted to get through to Carlton. But, yeah, Collingwood, fortunately, they snagged me with pick 11. And I think the emotion you see in that video was because of the fact that I didn't stick on with the Bulldogs. They didn't take me as their their priority pick.
And so what is that? Because I know that there is, obviously every team had their 2 marquees. So that there was no draft for that. They just were like, love you, we want you, come to our team.
And then people bargain, like, we want you, Brazill, but then Carlton wants you, like, you choose, basically.
Yeah.
And then there was in place a priority pick. And the priority pick was essentially for a player or a girl who was working within the club and or had ties to the club. So if you, as you are, you're working here, you would be Collingwood's priority pick because you can't technically go and play at another team. It doesn't make sense. You're working within the 4 walls. So I think Melbourne took Kaz Paxman. Collingwood took Meg Hutchins because she was on board working here. Yep. And the Bulldogs didn't really have anyone that had ties to them in that sort of way, but it was sort of expected that they were going to pick me up at 11. I was like, you're going to be their priority pick, aren't you? I'm like, no, well, I haven't heard anything. And to be fair, I hadn't played too well, so I didn't really expect it. But when you got people saying to you, well, it's a no-brainer, you've been their captain for 2-3 years, you're going to be their priority pick. And I'm like, well, I don't think so. And then I heard along the grapevine that they were going to select either Nick Stevens or Emma Carney. To be fair, I would have picked them over me as well. But, it wasn't till the day before it had to be submitted or whatever, I got a call from Glenn Barmforth, who I've got a great relationship with, and he's like, look, Steph, we're going with Emma Carney as our priority, just so you're aware. And, fully respect that. Like, I hadn't performed and wished him all the best. And so I think the emotion I showed when Collingwood picked me was, and as much as I really enjoyed the Bulldogs and loved Carlton, I just wanted a fresh start. So when Collingwood picked me, that was more relief than anything else. I wanted a fresh start. So, pretty happy.
And still, like, high pick because that year, like, out of all years, they had to pick every team had to pick a full list. So, like, I can't even imagine what the last pick would have been, like, number-wise. And you're pick 11. Like, that's awesome.
When you think of it that way, I think I was just stoked to get picked up, to be honest, and start the journey. Like, we just didn't know what was going to happen from then, but you just know you wanted to get on a list. And there were some girls that sat there, they were invited to the draft and sat there up until pick 100 waiting for their name to get called out. Like, and, some people missed out. Like, Sarah Perkins missed out and ended up getting
again.
Yeah, bizarre.
Crazy.
Like, gets invited to the draft
afterwards.
Yeah, Ash Riddell was the same the next year. Got invited to the draft, didn't get picked up. Yeah, so just really fortunate.
Yeah, I find the draft so interesting, and I still don't know enough about it. But I would love to know more. Just, I guess, how you pick people up, and then if someone gets picked up that you want, how you have to reshuffle your list. Like, I'd hate to have that job, but it would be so cool just to sit and actually
watch
analyse
it.
How it actually
depends.
works.
How do you rank players? Is it position wise? Is it the best available?
Yeah.
Our system's pretty cool. Like, Berg's Bergs goes through it. Yeah, it's pretty awesome how they do it. It's like an all electronic thing, and if a player moves and it moves this person up, and it's pretty cool.
So you said you were stoked to be, you just picked up anyway.
Yeah.
So you would have been stoked when you were the first captain of this club, getting named like the captain of Collingwood for AFLW. That would have just been...
Yeah, it's obviously a huge honour, and nothing I expected, if I'm to be completely honest. Like, I came in here, I had great conversations with Wayne prior to being drafted, and he spoke about leadership, but we ended up drafting, I think, 9 or so club captains from local teams, like Bree White captain St Albans, Alicia Eva was captaining Melbourne Uni. Like, we had so many good leaders in this team. So I never expected to be captain. We went to a vote, and it's just the way it went. But huge honour, very humbled, and pretty grateful to have had that support in year one for sure.
Yeah, but like, you're the only captain now that has captained every single year for the same club.
But in the league, do you mean?
In the league, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, someone told me that the other day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, like, Brennan is now moved on
to Richmond. Kara's been captain of Freo since the start.
Has she?
And Chelsea. We'll just say Victorian.
Well,
we'll say Victorian.
Who knows anything about WA? Because I want to move back there.
I feel very. I think it's something I'll.
Well, I reckon it would only be Cara and you.
Chelsea, Randall.
Yep, she was a co-captain.
Don't count.
Yeah, I'm just counting you. Let's just
Thank
talk about
you.
Victorians, because that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think it'd be something. Yeah, when I'm done and sort of reflect on it, that's pretty cool. But
it's massive.
Certainly
like,
not something
so good.
you go out to achieve, though. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, but I guess it shows the character you have and the person you are, that like, it's people want you here. And I think, I'm not sure how the first year it was selected, but since I've been here, it's been player selected. So the fact that the players want you here is such a big thing. And I just think that's awesome, and credit to you. Like, you've stuck true to who you are through the start to even now. So
yeah, thanks, Brazill. Yeah, appreciate that.
But what would you say is the hardest thing about being a captain?
That's a really good question. I think you don't really know what to expect when you're thrown into leadership, and obviously everyone has different leadership styles. I think for me, the hardest thing, obviously, in the first couple of years was the fact that we weren't winning. And then you start to question yourself. And then if you're not playing well, how can you be expected to pull girls up on things and things like that? But I soon sort of realised that as a leader, you don't have to tick all the boxes. And that's why you've got a leadership group, and that's why you've got people around you. So I know from the start we wanted to set high standards, pull girls up on this and that and whatever. And that's probably not setting high standards, yes, but, pulling girls up and having hard conversations wasn't my strong suit. And it sort of got drummed into me. You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. And I remember thinking, you know what? That's not being true to me. I lead differently. So as soon as I kind of accepted that I'm going to lead this way, these are my strengths, I'm going to lean on other people for sort of other factors, I think I grew in confidence and became a little bit better. So yeah, I think the hardest part is just realising that you've got your strengths, but then also acknowledging your weaknesses and just having a support network.
Has there been moments like on field where it's been overwhelming, like you feel like you just need to take the game on, and that's because you're captain? Because I've definitely, when I was captain at Fever, it's pretty similar to, I guess, Collingwood's start with AFLW not being successful. Like you just said, you start blaming yourself. How do I be better? And I'd go on court and sometimes even stray from like the game plan just because I was like, I need to get ball for my team.
Yeah.
Like, and have you ever had moments like that?
I think I've wanted to, especially in those first couple of seasons, and it was a good discussion point with the coaches, throughout. Like, there were times in games where, like, I think, and I know they won't mind me saying, our game plan in the first few seasons probably a little bit too complicated for where we were and where the group was at and where the competition was at. And there were
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and there were times in games where I just think, if this was at my local club, like, we could use our initiative, and you know what it's like as a player. You feel there's a vibe and it's a feeling. So when you act, it's based on what you feel. And sometimes I think we actually do know better than what they can see from in the coach's box.
Yeah.
And
that's sport, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like sometimes, like, we obviously listen to the coach, follow the game plan, but the feeling could be so different.
Absolutely.
And you can actually feel momentum swinging.
100%. And there was a time I'll never forget, against Melbourne, might have been the first season, we were like 20 points up at halftime, came in with all this confidence, went out after halftime. They just went bang, bang, goal after goal. Their winger was getting on top of us. And I just remember thinking, we've got to lock on here. We've just got to go one-on-one, bugger our zone defence that we're playing, bugger this tactic. And I was really reluctant to call it, and I didn't call it because we were so, I suppose, our game plan was so structured and it's this way or we're not doing it. I felt a little bit responsible for that loss in the end because I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I felt like we should have just gone lock on, one-on-one, stem the flow a little bit and then get going, but didn't call it. So, yeah, there's moments like that. But, fast forward to now, and I feel as though we're a little bit more fluid with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like you've probably got more, and probably more just having, I guess, the experience 5 years in that you have that player-coach connection that you probably feel more comfortable to just call it because that's how we all are. And it's probably, and that's what's great about this team. It's not just up to you. Yeah. Like we're expected anyone to call it. Exactly. Which is great, which probably Shani's calling it loudest. You just have to tell her and she'll get it through the team pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about, just still on the captain just quickly, and we'll move on to the next point. But one thing I love about you is you were just like the captain that does everything right.
You reckon?
Everything right. And I want to talk about one moment because it cracks me up.
What part?
I love that you're looking at me like
this.
No.
This could be like anything.
I want to talk about a hydration test. Now, if I was ever...
now I get it.
If I was to ever... just, forget my hydration cup. So for people that don't know, our nutritionist gives us a little wee cup that we have to take home. And the first wee in the morning, we have to pee in this little cup just to make sure, see how hydrated we are for training. I am probably not like Steph, and there is plenty of them that I have forgotten or missed or... Oh, it's actually not my first week. It might be my last week before training. Where you are that dedicated, you've lost your pee cup.
I think I left it here.
And what did you do?
Really, Brazzy?
Mate, it just makes me so happy.
I improvised.
The reason I brought it up, Steph, is because this is the moment I was like, this girl would do absolutely anything for this club.
I just don't like I even cracked it when Mike reckons I was late to submit my daily wellness because I submitted at 11:30 instead of 11. So I crossed it out on the form. Anyway.
He stopped contacting me.
Yeah, I put my wee. I weed in a Ziploc bag and I zipped it up nice and tight and I brought it to the club so then they could do the testing because I'm an athlete that's professional. Thank you, Braz.
And I love that you say at the end that's professional because I don't know how professional a Ziploc bag is.
I got it here.
But it is definitely your dedication and I really hope you were hydrated because it would have looked pretty funky.
Can you imagine?
Before we end this, I want to talk about how you're a teacher.
Yep.
But last year you decided, I think it was last year, you had time off. You decided to take some time off so you could really focus on footy. Mm-hmm. Now, that seems pretty normal for a lot of athletes, but what a lot of people don't understand is we don't get paid enough to not work.
Yeah.
So it would have been a pretty tough decision to go, okay, this is going to affect my money.
Yep.
You're in your own place, so you've got a mortgage.
Yep.
You obviously had a lot more time to spend with your dog, Bentley.
Yes.
But how did you, what made you do it, and was it a tough decision?
It wasn't a tough decision because I wasn't happy with how I was playing. And I knew I could give so much more. And I think I was just stretched way too thin with leadership, playing footy, getting up at whatever time in the morning to go to work and then, coming into training. And I just felt like I was run down and tired and I couldn't give 100% to either teaching or footy. So the decision itself wasn't hard. I'd made sure I'd, saved my money. I'm pretty good with my money and I like to save. So I did that and thought, you know what? You're a long time retired and I don't want to have regrets. So I just did it and I applied for leave without pay and fortunately that got accepted. So I had the term off and it was the best decision for me and for my football. I think I had my best season personally. We obviously had a pretty good season as a team as well. We made some huge steps forward and whether it's because I got to sleep a little bit more. I was obviously working at the club. So I was here, able to do my gym, access to our facilities, was more relaxed, wasn't having to deal with kids every day, which I obviously love, and I love that. But just my focus shifted and it was just all footy, and it was probably the best thing for me. In saying that, I am going back to work next week, but I think I'll manage it a little bit better this time around.
No, and you say like you think it was one of your best seasons, like but hands down, like you played unbelievable, and we talked about that leadership, how you played without that. Like you were a leader out there, but it looked like it was off your shoulders. You just ran the ball, like it was so good to watch.
I just enjoyed it a bit more. I think I enjoyed it because I wasn't so tired and good people around me, and just a lot of confidence in our group and in the people supporting me.
And it's I bring it up because it's massive. People don't understand, I guess, the dedication people have to put in to make sure they still have a living and play sport. A lot of, I guess, male athletes don't have to worry about this. So the fact that you took that time off to be the best player you could be, I think, it's a full credit. It shows the person you are, but also the leader you are. And
thanks, Brazill.
I really hope that you going back to work is the right decision.
Well, my leave got rejected, so I don't really have a choice.
No, and obviously different with COVID as well. It would just be so much harder.
Yeah.
But Steph, thank you so much for joining me on Coffee with Braz. You've been unbelievable. I love you. She actually drives me home most nights. So I love our banter. I love our chats. But for me, it's been so great to actually hear your footy journey because I think it's so different to a lot of people. Yep. So thank you. And I'm still waiting for my invitation to Nunna's pasta night.
Yeah, you're definitely coming. She'd love to have you. But thanks for having me on, Brazzy.
Thanks,
you're the best.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
1.5 metres. COVID safe.